Now that is a bigger box than I thought it was going to be. So this is the Atari 2600 Plus that was kindly sent to us by a company called Plaion. I think that's how you pronounce it. It could be Plaion, but I'll put a link to them in the description anyway, just so that you can check them out if you want to. Before I crack into the box, I do want to just mention that this isn't a review of the product. This is just an unboxing video, but a review video will be going live next Wednesday. So if you're interested, definitely check that out too. For now though, let's crack this box open and see what's inside. Oh wow. I've got to say, the packaging here is amazing. I don't know if this is the actual packaging or whether this is just like a review unit packaging, but if this is the actual packaging, then this is fancy. As you can see here, we've got an Atari standard joystick. We've got two of the spinner controllers, obviously the console itself, the Atari 2600 Plus. And we've actually got 4 game cartridges, which is interesting because I thought it only came with one. I thought it just came with this 10-in-1 games cartridge. So on here you've got Adventure, Combat, Dodgem, Haunted House, Maze Craze, Missile Command, Real Sports Volleyball, Surround, Video Pinball, and Yar's Revenge. So yeah, you get quite a lot of classic Atari games on there. So yeah, if you get in this and it only comes with this cartridge, you're still getting quite a few classic games to try out. So let's continue looking at the cartridges here. So we've got a Mr. Run and Jump. I'm assuming that these are reproduction cartridges, obviously. There's no way that there would be original Atari 2600 cartridges. There's Berserk for the Atari 2600. And then we've got another compilation cartridge that comes with Breakout, Canyon Bomber, Night Diver, and Video Olympics. The only one of those I'm actually familiar with is Breakout, which obviously would work well with the spinner controls. So I'm excited to check that out. But now, on to the main event. Let's take a look at the actual console. So this is what I'm primarily excited about, because this, as you can see, it's a sort of mini Atari 2600, although it's not that small. It is a lot smaller than the original console, but it's not the same size as something like the NES Mini or the NES Classic Edition. So yeah, it still looks pretty substantial sitting on the shelf. It does feel maybe a little bit plasticky, but I'm actually not too familiar with how the original console felt. I think that maybe the original one even felt a little bit plasticky, so that's probably quite accurate to the original design, to be fair. So yeah, as you can see, you've got that very 70s inspired wooden design on the front, which is very iconic and very Atari. You've got all of the switches that were on the original console, so you've got the power, the TV type, you've got game select, game reset. So that's good. You've got the original analog switches that you had on the original console for that extra authenticity. So that's nice. They're very clicky as well, as I imagine they would have been on the original console. So on the back of this thing though is where things get particularly interesting, because we've got several different switches that do different things. The first one is an aspect ratio switch, so you can go from 16:9 to 4:3. I'm interested to see how this works, because if the 16:9 actually sort of makes the game processed in widescreen as opposed to just literally stretching it, that could be interesting. But as far as I'm aware, it probably doesn't do that. It probably just stretches it. So I'll probably keep this in 4:3 for the most part. Then we've got the right controller input. We've got a difficulty select as well between A and B. But the big thing on the back of here is the HDMI video output, which obviously the original 2600 didn't have because it was way before HDMI. But that means that you know that this device has been made with modern TVs in mind, and it gives you a way of playing your Atari cartridges authentically through HDMI without doing any ridiculously expensive console mods. So that is probably the biggest reason that somebody would want to get this. But after that we've got another difficulty slider, which I think is for the second player. Then we've got the left controller input, and then we've got the power, which again has been modernized. This is USB-C powered, so it doesn't use the standard Atari 2600 cables. Again, just makes it more modern, brings it up to date. Everybody's already got all of these cables lying around anyway. But the main thing with this is that, as you probably spotted, it's got an original cartridge slot, which means that not only is it compatible with these reproduction cartridges and these multi-game cartridges, but it's also compatible with original hardware as well. That means if you've already got a few Atari 2600 games lying around, you can just pop them into this and access them like you would with the original console, only with this, you're playing it through HDMI, which just makes it a lot easier. But now let's put this to the side and see what else we've got in this massive Atari box. So the first thing that I've spotted is this quick guide. I'm thinking that that's just basically a digital instruction manual, so I'll put that to the side. Then we've got all of these nice little wires. So we've got the spinner controllers, which have the original controller inputs. So I'm assuming that you could actually plug these into the original Atari 2600 and you've got a brand spanking new Atari controller, which isn't something that you see all that often. It feels very, very sort of like smooth. It's got a bit of resistance to it, but I kind of like that because it means you can be a little bit more accurate. You've got the one red action button on the side of this thing as well, and this does feel almost like a little bit plasticky. But again, I imagine that this is how it actually felt back in the day, and Atari have clearly gone with authenticity here and tried to make these controllers feel just like they did. So you can't really blame them for that plasticky feeling. We've then got the standard iconic Atari joystick, which I would imagine feels kind of like it did. Yeah, like it's kind of like, it's nowhere near as smooth as like a modern joystick as you would expect. But again, it's going for that authenticity. And to be fair, the button on this one actually feels pretty good. Again, it's kind of plasticky, but I don't know, this one feels a little bit more high quality than the paddle controller one. But yeah, the actual Atari joystick is so incredibly stiff, but I'm guessing that that's just how they were. So again, you can't really blame them for that. Aside from that though, the only other things in the box are a standard HDMI cable. Nice that it comes with that, just allowing you to get stuck in straight away. And then we've also got a USB-C to standard USB cable, which is to power the console. So again, nice that it comes with that. It doesn't come with a power adapter, but I feel like nothing does anymore, so I guess that's fine. I'm assuming that everybody's already got loads of those lying around anyway. But that's everything that's inside this massive Atari 2600 box. I've got to say though, I am very impressed by this box. I mean, just look at how big this is and look at how premium it is. This is crazy, it's like a treasure chest. I think my favourite thing about this is that it shows that Atari aren't afraid to celebrate their history. While there's companies like Nintendo who make their mini consoles, they don't really feel all that authentic because you can't use original controllers, you can't put original cartridges into them. Whereas with this thing, it uses the original controller inputs. So in theory, you'd be able to go and dig out your old Atari controllers, plug them into this, and then use it like it was just the original console. But I think that about wraps up this initial impressions and unboxing video. I'm really excited to plug this in, get playing with all of these cartridges, and test out some original cartridges too. So if you're excited to see my more in-depth thoughts in a full-on review, definitely get ready for that video, which drops on Wednesday. For now though, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe if you want to see more retro content coming very, very soon. Remember to check out our book, A Handheld History, which is now available on Amazon. And I've been Rob from Retro Dodo, and I'll see you in the next one.